All right, guys, welcome back to the Agent Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Caffarella. I've got a special guest here joining us from Florida. Beau, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me. Not much, man. Just enjoying the weather.
Yeah, you just told me you're out in near the Destin area.
Yep, that's right.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very jealous of you right now. Our weather's starting to change here, and I don't know. I wish I could get my family to move out there, but it's not going to happen.
So when it changes for y'all, it's a little bit worse. But when it changes here, like it drops a few degrees, it's like unbelievable. It's like 79 here today. So we love it when it starts to change.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot kind of going on. You've done a lot already in your business. Tell us a little bit about like the beginning stages of you getting into real estate, what that was like, why you got into real estate and all that.
Right. So right out of college, I was playing sports. And after that ended, I really didn't know what to do. I've always been someone that, I don't like to be capped. I don't like, I know I couldn't work for somebody or, have just a normal desk job. So this just kind of interested me and really the wealthiest people I ever knew growing up were in real estate. So that's always something that kind of drew me to it. So after sports ended, I just looked into it, got my license. I started selling, and I also had a property management company I built and sold a few years ago. So I did that simultaneously, but I'm just kind of transitioned from sports to this, and it's kind of a parallel, actually pretty similar as far as like training and getting told no and practicing how to win and what to do. So it really paralleled well. So I just kind of made the full switch and took all the energy I was putting into the football or into football into this.
Nice. So you had said that, in the beginning, you got attracted to it because some of the most successful people that you knew were in real estate.
Yeah.
Those people that like you had a close relationship with, or just like looking from outside looking in, like, wow, like this person's super successful type of thing.
Kind of outside looking in. I really didn't have, my dad did some stuff, he's in it pretty heavy now, but he did some stuff and had some great success. And then really just outside looking in, just kind of researching, just because I knew sports wasn't going to last forever, and then just trying to figure out what you can do. And it's just, I always kept coming to that, and seeing all sorts of models, how people have made money with it.
So you started out, you said, by getting your licensing. At that moment, were you thinking like, I'm going to do 100% agent business, or were you thinking investing already at that point?
Both, right? But I knew, I had to get the money first to get going, right?
Yep.
And so my first goal, investing was second, right? So my first goal was, hey, I want to be a successful agent. I want to run a successful team. We also own the brokerage. So I want to run a successful brokerage. And then as that grew, we started investing because we were making millions for our clients. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get in on this. And so that's when I started partnering and then doing some of our own stuff, but I had to build up the income first to be able to do that.
So like you got in, where did you work like as soon as you got your license?
I worked at a little boutique company here. And I was there for 2 years, and then we launched our own brokerage.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was kind of a quick turn. So
yeah,
like tell me a little bit about your story, like first couple of years kind of as an agent, what that was like, what you were doing to get clients and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So first year, I was just grinding the phones, calling, mailing, open houses, trying to get business. My first deal came 6 months in from a walk-in. That was our first deal. In that first year, it's really, really tough, but that first year, what year was that? Maybe 2014 or something like that. And we ended up doing 13 million that year. And so I just kept leveraging what we've done and, kept calling. And then the next year we doubled in production, and then we doubled again, and then we tripled. And then this year we're on pace to double last year. So it's just we just kept stacking on and kept doubling. But it's really just leveraging what we've done. And then, people ask me how I got going as far as like getting listings and stuff. And I had, a bunch of people tell you, no, oh, it's your first year, I'm not going to give you this $3 million listing, this $2 million listing, so I ended up having to create my own inventory. So I would find dirt, partner with a builder and bring an investor in and put the whole package, just run their numbers, show them their, their return on it. And we do it and be a $3 or $4 million listing. And then they would get their return on it. We would get the listing. We leverage it to get more. So really just create our own listing inventory.
Nice. Yeah. So let's elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think that's something, like a lot of people, and I know you're in luxury, a lot of people want to get into luxury,
Right.
but it's super competitive.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're calling people, you're hoping somebody's going to give you their $1 million house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go with kind of like, I know you can't give us your full business plan, but like kind of step by step, like you said you found dirt, right? So what's that process like? And then how did you hook up with the developers that were interested in doing that kind of stuff?
Right. So you really had to gain market knowledge to kind of know, hey, what would a new home sell for? Back in your numbers and then see if that land purchase makes sense, right? And so we would, in areas we like, close to these little town centers we have. So we'd find dirt along here. We're doing it. We've got like, I don't know, 20 of them going right now. So we have a significant amount of them going still. But we find the dirt, and I would just call, wealthy people I knew. It's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. And people I had connections with, sphere of influence people. It's like, hey, it looks like the return is going to be X. We can buy the dirt for this. Building cost is this. Architecture fees, tap fees, all this stuff is this. Your return is 110% or whatever it is. And we'd do it, and we would, but it's a 1.5 year process. But the return is pretty good. And then the downside of it, say we can't sell it, is really you can rent it out, because VRBO Airbnbs here are fantastic. So it's pretty much a 10%, typically a 10% return, even if we had to keep it and hold it. But the upside was so great of selling it. So there's really not a ton of risk in it.
Yeah, no, I love that model. And it's interesting because I don't do luxury in my market. I do a lot of development. I do a lot of flipping, and I don't do it. And I don't do it because I'm always afraid, like, what happens if I've got this $1.5 million property, $2 million property that I need to hold on to? And you can't rent that out in my market and cash flow. But it's not, I mean, you're more of a destination for people to vacation to and stuff like that. So
right.
Have you ever had an instance where either you had to keep it as a rental, or you chose to keep it as a rental because the numbers made more sense?
No, just because, and we've looked at it, but just because the return's so great on the sale side.
Yep.
Like our margins are, they're pretty large, and so when you leverage the bank too, I mean, they're pretty large. We've looked at a few of them, but no, we've really sold them all. We sell them. I think the longest one we've held is about 60 days. So we sell them pretty quickly, because new construction here moves pretty quickly if it's priced correctly.
So what percentage, and again, like, you're billed as, a luxury agent.
Yeah.
What percentage of your inventory is coming from like you putting a deal together versus like you knowing somebody who has a multi-million-dollar house that wants to list with you?
Right. I would say we've got probably, I think we hold about 30 some listings right now. And I'd say probably listed that are projects, probably not many right now, 4 or 5. But if you ask me last year, been, probably 30 to 50%. But I'll say next year, like I said, we have 20 coming out of the ground right now total. Yep. And so as those get completed, my inventory will trickle up, and then there'll be majority of our development stuff.
Yeah. And again, not to harp on this point too much, but like, people always ask, like, why should I, know about investing or think about investing? And there's so many agents that want to do luxury, and you kind of like combine the two, right? Because you basically said, okay, I'm going to figure out like how to put a deal together. I'm going to put together a deal where investors are going to make money. And are you just listing those, or are you cut in any way, like on the profits?
So when I first started, I would just put them together. Now I'm doing a bunch of them on my own, or I'm a heavy investor in all of them.
Yeah. Right. So it's crazy. So like I'm, again, thinking about like this transition, right? So you go out, you get your license, you have no idea what you're doing, right? So you just start calling, a bunch of random people.
Yeah.
and you did that for 6 months.
Yeah.
You didn't have a ton of success.
Uh-huh.
At least your first deal didn't come for
Yeah.
6 months, right?
Right.
Then you figure out a way to learn about investing, and you talked about like obviously even looking for lots or figuring out like what you can do with them, that takes expertise.
Right.
You've got to be able to figure out like how to get those lots, how to acquire them
Yeah.
for a good price that makes sense for people in the right market, how to value them, obviously what the construction costs are going to be. And then you're raising capital or working with people on the other end, getting those listings together and then listing them. Okay. So at that moment, and I don't know how long, that's in, maybe that's like a year in or whatever, you're simply just at that point, like creating a luxury listing kind of, component to your business.
Right.
And then you take it a step further, then you start partnering with people because you understand your value, which is another thing that agents like don't do enough of. They bring deals to people and just say, hey, like if I can make 5, 10, 15 grand on it, like I'm good. But they don't find a way to get cut into the deal.
Right.
And obviously, you take it even a step further and say, okay, now that I've built up some capital or capital relationships and do some of these projects on my own, like I'm going to take some of the best deals that I do and do them myself. So that's like the full life cycle of just like starting as like an agent, and now you're an agent investor. And I don't even know, like, do you consider yourself at this point like more of an agent, more of an investor, or like just a combination?
Man, it's a combination because I still love selling. We've got a team, I have a team that works with me. I've got 6 agents that work with me, an assistant. And so we are still very, very aggressive in the market. We're the leading sales team in the market. Our team will probably do 500 million this year. So we're very, very aggressive on still getting listings, and still competing on that. I would say my focus has been helping my team. And then a big part of my day is looking at my funds, where they're going, checking on projects, what we're doing. And so a bunch of my energy is actually spent on that, but we still have the team. We're still aggressive, so it's really a combo.
Yeah. And I love asking people that question because a lot of times, like, and this show, focuses on really why every agent should invest in some capacity. And a lot of times what I hear from agents is like, well, I can't do both. And almost every single person that I ever bring on, they say, well, geez, like they're kind of like the same thing. Like you're doing the same thing to invest that you are to be an agent. And it's like they both kind of like work together.
100%. And if you have to have a really good team to help you so you don't drop any balls. Because if you're focused on your investing stuff and then dropping listing stuff, like that's, you can't do it. You have to be able to handle it all. But like, you look at it the same, like you helping this person build, this $4 million spec home. That's your listing inventory. It's the same thing. You can work on pre-selling it. You can advertise it pre-market. You can try to sell it in-house. You can do all this stuff. So it's really the same. They really shouldn't differ. The only thing that's different is just allocating your funds to it. And if you don't have any funds and you're just taking a management fee on it or something like that, you can get a 10% cut or whatever you want to do on that. However you structure with the developer, that's the same way. Because if you, what I've learned, if you're successful and you make these people money, like you're just going to keep doing it, right? And it's not gonna stop.
Yeah, and so that's just another huge like component that I see, like benefit of like agents learning the investing game is like, like it's one thing to have like a really good sphere. And I'm, a proponent of that. Like we've got a real estate brokerage with over 300 agents in it. And
wow,
you want to do business with friends and family for sure. No doubt. But the great thing about working with investors, like you said, it's like they're going to buy and buy and buy and buy. And, your friends and family, they'll buy or sell a house every 5 to 7 years. But like investors are just they're making money. Give me more, So you talked about like, building out that team, and you've done a lot. Like, 2014, that's 7 years ago at this point. And that's really like what you've done is tremendous that's a short window, right? So how have you built out that team? like how have you structured it so that it both obviously benefits you and benefits the people on your team?
Right. So I guess I'll just give you kind of year by year. So first year was just myself. I had a guy I leaned on a little bit to kind of learn. So first 2 years, kind of just did it myself. We did 13 million that first year. I think I did 36 million the second year. And then I decided to launch this franchise. I bought the England Volkers for our franchise just because I saw what our market was doing, the listing price. So I knew people wanted the international exposure, Wall Street Journal, all that kind of stuff. So brought that in, and then we went to I think 74 million our third year. Brought on an assistant, full-time assistant. Then started like trying to bring some people in on team. Weren't the right fit. So then it was really, when it boiled down to it, was just still me and my assistant. And then the next year we did 100 and I don't know what it was, maybe 130 million or something like that. And so I had an assistant, then I had 2 team members that were working with me, and they're still with me. And so it was really finding the right fit. And when you start, something about the team, when you start getting people on the team, when pride starts getting in the way with people and money, and it's just when that stuff starts taking the forefront of the relationship, it just never works. So I had to find the right people then. So I had those 2. Then the next year we did, I don't know, I think 180. Grew the team a little bit more. Still had another. I had 2 assistants switch, then quit, then wanted to sell. So I had to go through 2 assistants then. Then we switched the next year. We did 270, around 270 million last year. I had a same assistant and 4 team members. And then this year, one pays 500, same assistant, and we've got 6 team members.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way we structured is I try to let them, I try to feed them. I try to, help give them deals as much as I possibly can, help them leverage our numbers, leverage all our production, leverage everything to help get business.
Yep.
And I just try to hand it off to them. And I really mainly focus on, listings and my development stuff and investing stuff.
Yeah. So, what I heard in all that is the same story that like pretty much everybody who builds out any organization goes through. And most people, like, they look at you, they look at your numbers, and they're like, wow, like he probably went exactly in a straight line. And especially with like building a team and people, it's always like you're going up, then you're going down, then you're going up a little, then you're going down a little, and then up a little. And that's just how it is. And it sounds like even from the day that you started, like how you kind of thought about that team and how it was structured has changed a little bit.
100%.
And you've gone through like the learning pains of kind of learning like who's a fit for me, who's not a fit. And, like with all this stuff, like whether it's investing, building a team or whatever, it's all about just taking action and
100%.
Kind of just knowing that like, you're going to do that. You're going to do that. But at the end, like what I heard every single time, every single year, you kind of went year by year is like, by the next year, you were always up, but like, this person left and that happened and this happening, but by the end you were still up. So
but you have to keep your mind. I have to keep my mind on this trajectory, no matter what's happened here. I have to keep my mind. That's the thing. No matter what happens here, as long as I know the goal and I'm still driving it, and you're the driving force. Whatever happens here is whatever, but it'll always come back if you keep, if your trajectory is still the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you had mentioned how athletics fit in, and I saw in your bio, I'm like, man, this guy played. I know you said not too long, but you played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you were talking about sports, and I feel like a lot of the lessons you learn in sports, like you mentioned, are kind of relevant because it's like you're always going to have somebody like trying to knock you down, and you got to just keep getting back up. And if you do, you're going to be, pretty damn far ahead.
Right.
So what would you say, like, to agents who are here listening and they're like, oh man, like, he's done big volume, he's investing, he's doing all that stuff, and they haven't started investing yet or done anything in the investing world. What would you say to them?
Just start doing it. So we're still, we're trying. So we're doing the luxury spec stuff. I'm doing quite a few commercial projects right now as well, and I've just started getting into some of the long-term rental stuff. So I'm trying to what I'm trying to do is get enough passive income, right, to take over any kind of income we're making doing, our sales and all this kind of stuff. So if there is a dip, I'm just kind of insulating myself, as much as I can. So I would just tell them, just look at it, look at the numbers, look what, what's going to give them financial freedom, and try to create that as they're selling, because living just straight commission can be tough, so if they can find some of those things that invest in that are a good deal, whether it's flipping, whether it's long-term commercial, warehouse, luxury specs, whatever it is, just find as much of that stuff as they can simultaneously as they're selling.
So you talked about like the passive income goals. What type of properties are you looking to add to your portfolio?
Man, really anything that makes sense. Like, we just completed a 20,000 square foot warehouse. That's been an extremely good deal for us. It's triple net. It's been a really good one for us. We bought a few new construction homes that are very well priced in a new community here that we're getting great lease rates on. I've made a few offers on apartments that haven't come to fruition. I'm trying to find a gas station, all sorts of stuff. But we're really anything that just makes financials, whether it's a business, whether it's commercial, residential, anything like that. It's just anything that really makes sense, that can help our net worth, that can help our passive income, all of that. Is anything that makes sense.
Nice. And so what are your plans kind of like for the team as of right now? I know obviously it's always, somewhat of a moving target, but where would you see yourself in, a few years from now?
I'd like to keep on it, keep improving. I'm very, very goal oriented. So this year we want to hit our goal, and then next year is going to be X. So I always want to keep striving to improve, adding the right people, having the right culture. So I definitely want to keep going up, but I would think we probably venture into other markets. I would think in the next few years, and try to expand into some other places that some of our team members are passionate about. So probably looking at that. And from our brokerage standpoint, we've got big goals to expand the brokerage as well, and grow in other markets and add the right agents and stuff like that.
Nice. So what's your biggest challenge as of right now? Because you've got so much stuff going on, so much good stuff going on.
Time and balancing it all.
Yeah.
I've got a very, very good assistant that helps keep everything, going and everything like that. But what I devote my energy to is a big thing, right? So just figuring out where I need to put it, and the time to like do some of these development deals. Like there's a lot of research you got to do with some of it. So it's just really, I would say time and is my biggest thing right now.
Yeah, no, I think that's every entrepreneur's biggest struggle, right? Because if you're having success, a lot of things that you do work, and then it's hard to say which one should I put my time into, right? So
yeah,
but
find the right team members. Like there's projects I think, man, this is a great deal, and I'll bring someone from my team in that I'm very close with. Like, hey, you run this, I'll give you a management fee on it, do some of the legwork on it, and I'll just let him kind of run it, and I'll be an investor with him, but they, so they can kind of get some money from it, and they can help with it if they can have time, because I can't devote that energy to it.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today. Shared a lot, definitely doing some different stuff than a lot of our other guests. I don't think I've ever really had anybody really focused on luxury, like land deals like that. And I think it's a unique perspective. It's something that, even for myself, I'm thinking about it. Like there are deals in my market that I come across that I should probably be working on in some capacity, maybe not flipping them, but even just brokering them.
Right.
But yeah, I want to, I know your time's valuable, and you shared a lot of great stuff, and I want to thank you for coming on today.
Man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
All right, guys, we'll be back next week with another edition of the Agent Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Caffarella. We'll see you next week.